So say goodnight to the bad guy.
You looking at the bad guy. This the last time that you ever see a bad guy like me. You don't have the guts to be who you wanna be.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Honor Among Thieves. Your host, as always, Nelson Rodriguez Jr., host, producer, director, everything under the sun of Honor Among Thieves podcast. Today, another fantastic guest all the way from Akron, Ohio. Alysia Smith, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good to have you. I heard a little bit of your, not too much, I barely know it, but I heard enough to pique my interest when you were in there with Ian. So I said, you know what, let me ask her if she wants to be on. So,
yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course. 7 hours, you're a beast. How come you didn't fly?
Well, so I went to Aspen last month, and so we got on the plane. We sat on there for 3.5 hours.
Oh, wow.
The groundskeepers didn't come and fill up the planes like they were supposed to. I missed my flight to Aspen from Atlanta, so I had to find 2 more connecting flights to get to Aspen. So I missed a whole day in Aspen. And same coming back to where I barely made it back to Ohio on time. And I've made the drive from Ohio to Florida in 1 day. So 7 hours, I was like, I'll take my chances. I'll spend the gas money.
I flew from Miami to Tampa because I didn't want to drive.
That's like, what, 2 hours? Isn't
4.5.
Okay.
But still, it's a 53-minute flight. So I was like, you know what?
Oh,
yep.
So by the time you go up, you're already coming down?
You're already coming down. You don't even feel it. Seriously.
Yeah.
So, Ari, you told me you found Ian through TikTok.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
It was interesting, the algorithm, like, right after I got out of prison. Bro. It showed locked in.
Isn't it crazy how it does that? How the fuck did it know that I went to prison? Like, it's crazy. It did the same thing for me ever since I got out and I started podcasting about prison and like that kind of stuff. It's just on my algorithm. And of course, I've been to prison, so now before I would have watched it and thought it was cool, but now I'm like, oh yeah, I used to do that. It's weird, man. They're always listening to us. It's creepy.
Yeah, and I was like, when I looked, I'm like, this isn't fair. I'm like fresh out, and I'm playing on TikTok, reactivating everything. Had to make a whole new TikTok, all that, and I came across that, and I'm looking through, and I saw that he was in a similar situation where, first time, but he's federal and I was, state. And I was like, oh my gosh. I can relate to this guy.
Yeah. And I felt the same way. Yeah. I felt the same way. I was on house arrest and I got a pass to take it to have an internship at a podcast studio so I could record. And then when I finished recording one of the episodes, mind you, only like the owner of the studio knew I was on house arrest. No one knew I was on because I would wear pants. So you wouldn't
cover that up.
And then my guest was like, "Do you know who Ian Big is?" I was like, "No, I have no clue." And then he showed me his Instagram, and I DM'd him. And then, 6 or 7 months later, we met. I was here, so
it's crazy how things work out.
I love how it's crazy how you end up meeting people that become a part of your life, and it's really interesting to. How things come together in life,
It is.
So, Ari, let's get into it. Let's talk about your story. Where are you originally from?
Akron, Ohio, born and raised.
Akron, Ohio.
Yes.
So is Akron, I've heard Akron it can be like there's some rough areas out there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Is the whole city kind of like a rough area, or is it?
It is.
Okay.
So where I grew up, it was, a nice neighborhood, in the 90s. So
a while ago.
So what was it early 2000s?
That would make you like 24.
I wish. So I remember being out with friends. This is all right around my neighborhood.
Okay.
Where my dad's calling me, I had my first cell phone and everything. He goes, "Hey, where are you at?" I'm like, "I'm on my way home. It's, not curfew time." He goes, "No." He goes, "There was a shooting just a couple houses over."
What?
Yeah. And that was just one. And then, a couple months later, the house next door, someone killed someone.
Oh my God.
Like, I don't know if they were DOA. I just got off work at 7 a.m. and it looks like the 4th of July down my road. There's 17 cop cars, crime scene unit,
Wow.
all this stuff, and they're escorting people out of this house. And I'm peeking through the window because I couldn't get in. So I climb up on the mantle and I'm peeking out. I'm like, this is so unreal. So that was
How
like,
old were you?
oh, I was like about 20.
Oh
And
my
the other
God.
time I was like 18.
And you're thinking it's cool. You're like, oh my God, I want to see what's up.
Yeah, and another incident where I was driving home from the bar and the police stopped me. I was like, oh, here we go. Here we go, DUI. And they're like, we're going to stop you right here. We're in pursuit of a suspect. I look to the left and I hear them pronouncing someone's death at 1:11 in the morning. There
Wow.
was a fresh dead body next to my car.
Oh my
I'm like,
God.
then I found out it's one of my very close friends' ex-boyfriend. They had just talked earlier that day. Wow. And I was like, yeah, I saw him. Like,
That's insane.
they were together for like 7 years.
Wow.
But they were still friends after because he had gotten out of prison.
Is that the neighborhood where you grew up? Is that like you were always in the same kind of area?
No, this was on the other side of town.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's that city. There's no one particular area. There might be more crime in one area, but it's,
But it's one big, like, kind of,
yeah, it's like, oh, here's another one. We got to that point where it's just, there's another one.
wow.
And when I moved out of state, when I moved to Tallahassee, Florida, like one murder a week.
Yeah, it's
And
very
then-
different.
And I was going to go on a ride along with a friend of mine who was a sergeant at the time. And he was telling me about what's going on. And I was like, one a week. I'm like, this ride along sounds boring. And he looks at me. He's like, what? I was like, bodies drop like flies from where I'm from. He goes, oh,
That's
my.
wild.
Like, and he was a sergeant of homicide too. So I was like, he's looking at me like, what are you dealing
So pretty
with?
much growing up, you were around people getting killed and it wasn't a big deal?
Violence. Like, I watched a lot of it go down.
Wow.
It was nothing new.
What do you think makes Akron that kind of place?
Oh, it's like when the people that move in, like there's the universities right there, so you have a lot of college kids.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of sober houses nearby too.
Oh,
So
okay.
when you're bringing, I'm not trying to stereotype, but when you're bringing, people that come out back to the real world, trying to get their lives on track, need somewhere to stay, things like that. Well, you're attracting, more. And then there's, they've been moving high schools around because they're rebuilding. So a lot of people are coming to different schools. So you're getting crowds from other sides of town, people that, have moved in from out of state, just trying to mark their grounds. It's very territorial over there.
Is there a lot of gangs and that kind of stuff?
There's biker gangs. There's the Hells Angels. Their clubhouse isn't too far from where I live. I forget the name of the other ones, but there's a couple
Like the
others that I've
Outlaws
seen.
and, is it mainly biker gangs?
There's a lot of those, but there's others.
Other gangs? Oh,
Yes.
Like street gangs, that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Bloods, Crips, that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen that. That was the incident where when I looked into it, the guy that killed when I was at that stop by police, that was gang affiliated.
Wow.
Yeah, about some dispute between a girl and another guy.
And like rival gang members and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff?
They cornered him.
That's crazy.
Shot him dead. That's what it came out to be.
That's nuts. The only exposure I have to Akron, Ohio is, have you ever seen the movie, is it Into Deep? Or I think it's called Into Deep. I don't remember the it's the one with LL Cool J. And
It's an
Omar
older
Epps.
movie, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah, it's been a while.
And his character, not the cop character, but like the undercover character he plays is from Akron. That's the only time I've ever heard that town.
Yeah.
So I figured it was a bad area because he's pretending to be this thug street guy. So I figured Akron was like a rough area, but I didn't know until now.
Yeah. It's gone downhill. Like I drove through my old neighborhood. I was going to an AA meeting. I was still on probation. This is just a couple months ago. So I got off back in December, the end of December.
I got off in September. So.
Yeah, so you know.
Yeah.
So I went to an AA meeting, like literally next to the Summit County Jail. And all the houses that used to be like they weren't in great condition, but they were operable.
Right.
Clearly not up to building code. But I'm looking, I was like, that's not standing, that's caved in. Like,
Wow.
this is that house, there's no house there anymore. It just looks run down.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. So as a kid, right, you're seeing all this activity, people dying around you. It's not a big deal anymore. Elementary school, middle school, like, I'm assuming you have like friends that get killed and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I started elementary school. I was in Akron public schools. Predominantly, like, white was a minority.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, and then I was...
Is it mainly like Black, Hispanic?
Yes.
Okay.
Which didn't bother me.
Right.
You know, grew up. My neighbors, a couple white people. But, you know, I was not judgmental. Didn't know. Like, until I got older and realized the judgment people pass on each other, that's different. So I got open enrolled through another school, a smaller school. And there was only 3 Black people there. I'd never seen so many white people at the time. And I'm like...
You're used to being like the only white chick in the whole school?
Yeah, one of very few, yeah. So there's this... we had a really good football player in the Akron school district. He went pro. So he went to Ohio State. He did really good. His name was Beanie Wells, Chris Wells. He went to the Arizona Cardinals. Well, I knew his brother, Joel. We were in the same grade. We were neighbors. My high school sweetheart played with Beanie Wells. They graduated the same year.
Okay,
I actually have prom pictures of all of us together. So his brother and I used to work at a grocery store together. Joel was his name. So actually not too far from where I live now, which is Goodyear Heights, the rubber city. So Goodyear, that's where the chemical plant is, everything. So your tires are from, you know, Akron. And I found out 2019 that my friend Joel was shot and killed.
Wow.
Not too far from where I live now. And that really, I was like, wow, I hadn't seen him in like 3 years. But still, when it's someone that you've known since you were...
Yeah, that you've known your whole life, and then they get... That's wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So that one really got to me.
That was what, high school?
Yeah, well, middle school and high school, I knew them. But we grew up in Firestone Park. So
Firestone Tires?
Yeah.
Let me guess.
Yes.
Firestone Tires.
Yep. And then we have Bridgestone as well. So we're the rubber city.
So all the tires get made in Akron?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, that's... Wow. So middle school, high school, you got, you know, friends getting killed. I'm assuming everybody's running with the wrong crowd. That's why they end up that way, right?
So, yeah, that too. Remember the epidemic of, you know, heroin, fentanyl back in like 2012? I lost a lot of classmates, you know, post high school, obviously. Lots, like it kind of reminds me of COVID. Lots of bodies dropping. So this is crazy. So a lot of people I went to school with, I was like, oh my gosh, like people are dying. So I lived in a really nice apartment complex. It was almost 1,500 square feet. I had a double, you know, garage. Like, I was living nice. You know, single mom. I was like, I don't need nobody, things like that. And my next door neighbor before he passed away, would always watch out for me when I'd come home. So I was like, who needs a man? Like, I'm doing good. So this couple moves in and they look shady. And I just got this English bulldog and she looks like a little tree stump. She's so cute. Take her on a walk and this big burly guy's like, oh, that's a cute dog. I just got her spayed too. I was like, yeah, I go, she's cute, but I'd go broke because he's talking about breeding her. I was like, no, I'd go broke. I wouldn't get rid of any of the puppies. He goes, well, that's sad. You can make mad money off of her. And I'm like, my dog, you know, I didn't say anything mean. I'm like, okay, walked away. So there was just something sketchy about these people. So I didn't move yet, but like there was just people coming and going from their place. And I was like, I got to get out of here. So I finally found another place. I had to downsize, sucked, but I wanted to get out of there. They got busted. It was one of the biggest drug busts. She was they were a ringleader of all this. So They had over $250,000 cash on them
Wow.
in the garage, in their home. Ton of fentanyl. I forget how much they had.
And this was back in 2013, 12?
12, 13.
Fentanyl wasn't even... Fentanyl's huge now.
This was big back then.
Wow.
This was big back then. And I'm naive. I have no idea what's going on, but I lived in a certain area where it's outside Akron. It's like the outskirts of Akron. This whole community, people are dropping like flies. And I can't tell you how many times I've just seen the ambulance. I've seen so much. Her mom ratted on her. I don't remember the girl's
mom ratted on her?
Her mom knew about the operation.
Wow.
They had a lot of money. And it says in the article that she something about how much she had on her, that she's responsible for this, like just ratted on her.
Wow.
That's what caused the raid. She was connected to all these deaths. And I was like, I'm glad I got out of there when I did.
Definitely. 100%.
So I was like, wow, that was a big shock. I was like, I knew my intuition was like, yeah, get out of there.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said you were a single mom. So let's backtrack for a second. You finished middle school, finished high school. What's life kind of like when you graduate high school? What happens there?
I was working 2 jobs, one full-time, one
While
part-time.
going to high school?
Oh,
Or right after?
Right after. I was working while I was in high school too. So when I got out, I was riding motorcycles. Like I had like a couple motorcycles. I had friends. Like we were going. We were all over the place. And I was in school only part-time, but I was working full-time.
Okay.
So I was trying to live the life, but also, become something.
Gotcha.
Didn't know what, but I wanted to become something.
Right. Bikers. So like a chopper or like a
So I
speedbike?
had 2 crotch rockets. So I had a Ninja,
That's
little Ninja. Then I had a Gixxer 750. I had a Harley Sportster 1200.
Wow.
So
That's cool.
yeah.
Did you run with the bikers?
So I was a tandem girl for a biker group. Like they weren't nothing
cool.
too crazy. I used to, stunt ride. Some injuries. I've gotten some injuries. I got hit. It was a hit and run literally after I bought my brand new bike.
Wow.
So there was a hit and run on that.
Did you get, what happened? Like they smashed into your bike and you like,
So I would have like when they ran a red light turning, they hit me. I was going to fall completely on my right side. But this is where potholes came in handy. I hit a pothole and it threw me off the back.
oh,
I had my
wow.
book. I was coming from college. I was going to Kent State. And I slid on my book bag. My head never, I had a helmet
Wow.
on, thank God, but it never hit the ground. But I turned over to get up and there's headlights. Another car coming,
Wow.
where I was like this close.
To getting hit?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I was like, I'm done riding for a while. It didn't stop me realistically, but I was like, I'm done for a couple days.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So what kind of work are you doing? Like after high school, college? what kind of jobs?
So I worked in the medical field, worked in behavioral health. I also was a cocktail waitress and a bartender once I hit 21. So I had to have that spending money. And I was paying out of pocket for school at this point. I was like, I don't want no school debt, nothing. So that's what I
I'm
did.
still paying off student loans. Trust me.
Yeah, me too.
It's terrible. Okay. So running with bikers here and there, going through college. What are you studying?
I was in nursing at that point.
Okay.
And I got to a certain point where I was like, it's not for me.
Okay.
I didn't. There's a certain point where I'm not your housemaid. I'm not your servant. Have respect for the medical field. Being a first responder was more dangerous than I thought. I've dealt with hands-on, where I've gotten attacked by patients and things like that.
I could imagine in Akron and being a first responder must have been wild.
Oh, and people not just in behavioral health, but people with dementia. I got punched for no reason. They thought I was their granddaughter or something like that. They were calling me Helen. And I was like, who's Helen? This is when I first learned about dementia. I got socked right upside the head. Luckily, it wasn't too bad. But I'm like, yeah, this isn't fun. So it was a fluke. But then once I got to behavioral health, where we were on a lockdown unit, never a boring moment. Never.
Lockdown unit. So I'm assuming these are psychiatric patients that are unstable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, how long were you there for?
I worked, so at this one particular medical center, I was there for 2 years. When I found out I was pregnant, I had to leave. I was like, this is not safe for me. So.
Wow. So you basically worked at a psych ward for 2 years.
Yep, but they couldn't call it a psych ward. They'd have to pay us more. So it's the lockdown unit.
Yeah, because locking down people, that's not psychotic. So, all right, so I want to pause for a second. You live in a really wild city. Friends are dying all the time. It's normal. You see a lot of death. You become a first responder. You're around more death and more insanity. Now you're working in a psych ward or, behavioral health unit, lockdown unit. You're living a pretty intense life.
It was never boring.
Boring, yeah, many things, but not boring.
Yeah.
Okay. That's, I don't think I've ever met somebody who's around death, so much death that early, especially a woman. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and, given, like, the circumstances of, my dad being a single dad working, my brother and I were left home quite a bit while he was working. My mom wasn't in the picture. So we were also pretty curious. So something my dad would typically push us away from, we're like the ones right out there watching it. If he was home to shield us from that. But we're like, curiosity, we're going to go check it out. Running towards it. It's like, you'll shy away from Jehovah's Witnesses, but you'll run towards crime.
That's pretty funny. That is the stereotypical reaction to Jehovah's Witnesses when they knock on your door, right? It is pretty wild.
Yeah.
So as a kid, it fascinated you, this whole kind of
I definitely wanted to learn about people and their thought process. Because, I was still developing. I didn't really have, good role models. And when I started meeting people, in college, teachers that they, clearly have structure, I, became attracted to that. It was, admirable, where I was like, this is what I want. I want to become better educated. I want what they have. I want out of this life, where I want to get out of this area. I want out of the city. So I was gravitating, more outside the city. And I loved it. I was like, not so much chaos. And I was like, this is what normalcy almost feels like. So, having a college education, or, just going to school and wanting more, being exposed to different people. And, I liked that. I wanted more of that. I wanted out of that life that I had.
What made you switch gears then? Because it sounds like that was what you were pretty fixated on doing, but then you dropped out. So what changed?
It's, dropped out of school or
school.
So I graduated. I didn't go to the master's program.
Got it.
So, still going to school. It's when I caught my case, I couldn't proceed. That's what happened.
Now we're getting there. All right. Hold on.
Caught my case.
Now we're getting to the good part. Okay. So you graduate college. Okay. What you're still working in the medical field and all that?
No, I'm not allowed because I'm a violent offender.
Right. But I'm trying to hold on. I want to build up to it.
Okay.
So you graduate college and then the case happens?
No.
Or is it while you're in college?
No, this happened. So so it was 2017, where I was officially done tying things up with school. I'm a competitive martial artist at this point.
Oh, that's cool.
Single mom, things like that. Then I had an opportunity. I was close to getting married. I got a house, everything. I was in love. But,
as we all are at times.
Yeah, but I wanted more. I was like, I want to do more. The sky's the limit. I want more. And so I took a job down in Tallahassee, working for Department of Children and Families for a while. I did not, once I figured out I was moving, I couldn't reverse everything I just accepted. I did not handle it well. I did not handle the move well. I was like, what am I doing? I don't know. I wanted to get away from everything, but I regretted it completely. So I started drinking more because there's nothing to do in Tallahassee. There's more to do in Ohio.
In Akron than there is in Tallahassee. That's
Right.
Cool.
Even
you should have kept coming to Miami. You would have met up with me.
Yeah, I got to learn to speak Spanish too because I heard it's predominantly Spanish speaking.
Oh my God, that place is another country. Yeah. So, all right. So you moved to Tallahassee. You're not happy. You're drinking. Keep going.
And I was investing time in, work at a university to go to law school. I've talked to the professors. I've practiced the LSATs. And I was like, okay, I'm getting the hang of it. They said, we prefer you, if you get accepted, that you do not work and that you live on campus. That I was like, okay, I'm a mom. I got a car payment. I got dogs. So I started a cleaning business. I was like, so I got, I'm working on this. Catch a case like 6 months later in Ohio. Coming back, I came to visit.
You went to visit in Ohio?
Yeah, around my dad's birthday. And I was up there for a couple days and went to the club, got arrested and everything, caught a case.
Okay, so let's get into that story for a second. All right, so you go back home just to visit, right? You're not moving back. You're still in Tallahassee.
Yes.
Okay. You go to a club by yourself, with friends?
With a couple of friends. Met up with a couple of friends.
Okay, like a nightclub?
Yeah.
I know that smile. It was a strip club.
Yeah.
Right. Just by the smile, you could tell it's like titty bar. All right. So you go to the strip club with friends. Okay. I'm assuming you're drinking.
Yeah. I didn't
point.
know, so I already had benzos in my system at this point.
Oh shit. Okay.
I didn't read the directions saying don't drink on it, so that was just my stupidity right there.
Okay. Do you remember most of the night? Or
no.
You don't?
I remember to a point, I only had one drink.
Okay.
That I remember. Because I just remember, it felt different. I was like, man, they really loaded this up. I liked my Tito's and tropical Red Bull. That's what I would drink. So she tried to, this girl that I've never met before, just met her that night. I'm washing my hands at the sink.
Is she one of the strippers that works at the club?
Yeah.
Okay.
She was new because my friend introduced me to her saying she just started a week ago. And then I go to the hand dryer. I left my bag sitting on there because it's right there. I literally turn around, dry my hands. And she tries to grab it. And I'm like, excuse me.
And you're like a paying customer going there to have a good time? Okay.
I was like,
weird.
Excuse me. And she goes, oh, I thought that was mine. I see hers over. I was like, okay. So I told, the manager, I was like, watch out. So I was telling my friends, don't get a dance from her. Don't get a dance from her. Oh, then she starts going off on me. And I was mouthing off right back. Not really remembering everything I said. But I know you can see the video of me just pointing at her. And then she comes around the corner with a stiletto in her hand.
Oh, shit.
And so I block her with my right leg. I block her, and then I punched her right in her face.
There we go.
Yeah.
And then obviously I'm assuming, did she try to fight back, or at that point she just kind of ran away?
She was fighting back. She was fighting back. She had clumps in my hair.
Jesus. And then security came and broke up the fight, or?
No, the girls actually did before security. So when she got up and I got up, she goes, you stupid bitch, you broke my nose. And I was like, I hope you have a warranty on it. She just got her nose done, she said. I didn't.
Fucked up a stripper's nose job. Hardcore.
Yeah. I was like, well, sober me would not have done that. Sober me would not have done that.
People are different when they went under the influence of drugs and alcohol.
Oh, yeah. When I look back at my Facebook memories, I was like, wow, I thought that was cool. I was an asshole. That is not cute. That is not relationship worthy. Right. That version of me, not relationship worthy.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Okay. So they break it up. They separate you guys. What else happens?
So I told the manager to check the videos. I know the manager, and it shows her coming at me. I remember saying that. So I'm waiting around for 45 minutes. Then he said, that it was me. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So this girl denied, they weren't going to arrest me yet.
Right.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
And She denied 27 times going to the hospital. She didn't want to go to the hospital. They said that we're not going to arrest her. Something along those lines. So she went, then left against medical advice before they could do anything. She didn't give a real ID, nothing. She went as a Jane Doe.
Well, I mean, I would assume, if I had to assume, she was probably like, had some trouble with the law. Nobody.
Yeah,
wanted
6
to know her
different
name.
identities we found out.
Wow.
And she
Holy
tries
shit.
to extort me for $20,000 after I get out. She tries.
Wow.
After my arraignment and I get bailed out, she has someone message me.
So, but hold on. So, when is it that you're like arrested? Is it like while she's going to hospital? Like, break that down. When do you go? Like, when do cops show up and arrest you? Is it that same night?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was standing by the cop car. Like, they didn't have me in handcuffs, but they wanted me to stand there.
Right.
I'm not putting up a fight or anything. So,
So they arrest you that night.
yeah.
Okay, and then you stay in jail overnight.
For the weekend.
Oh, that's terrible. It
My
was
first.
Friday.
Yeah.
I hate it when that happens.
It-
It sucks.
My first experience behind bars.
County jail, I'm assuming.
Well, it was technically city,
Okay.
and then it ended up being county later on.
Okay, and they bail you out on Monday.
Yeah,
What are you charged with?
felonious assault.
Oh my God. Okay.
Little
so,
me.
All right, guys, taking a quick break from the podcast to talk to you about Gus Villa Jewelry. Yo, let's be real here for a second. If you're rocking plain jewelry in Miami, of all places, you are doing it 100% wrong, my boy. Step your game up with Gus Villa Jewelry, the plug for real Cuban link gold and silver chains. And of course, the cleanest Rolexes in all of Miami. This isn't factory made or watered down or any of that stuff. This is high quality, custom, handmade stuff that shines from here to the moon. It turns heads, starts conversations, it makes you look fresh. Gus has something that'll level up your whole vibe. And because you're locked in here with us at Honor Among Thieves podcast, you're getting a hookup. Use the promo code Montana at checkout. Get 5% off your entire order. That's right, 5% off. Go check them out at GusVillaJewelry.com or pull up on them in the Diamond District down here in downtown Miami. GusVillaJewelry.com. Again, that's GusVillaJewelry.com. And tell them your boy Montana sent you. Gus Villa Jewelry. Now back to the podcast. Felonious assault. You get bailed out. You have to spend the weekend in jail. So walk me through what's gonna start happening now. Like now, that whole thing with her in the hospital, is that happening now? Like while, or is that way after?
Oh, she left against medical advice. So she didn't get treatment, nothing.
Okay.
So I hired an attorney to look into this. And, it shows her attacking me. So he was going to take the case.
Right.
So he said a lot. He oversold and underachieved.
Sounds like a lawyer I know.
Mm-hmm.
My mother says when you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. So I'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the lawyer decides to take your case, overpromises. Is this right after you get arrested?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got an attorney before I went back to Florida.
Mm.
So I was already a resident of the state of Florida in 2018. This is 2019.
Right. Okay.
So that's important when it comes to the trial.
Okay.
So
Do you end up taking the same attorney when you go to trial?
no, we dismissed him from the case because he decided to do my plea deal for me. I didn't know about my plea deal. He says, no, we're taking it to trial. If I would have known that, I would have taken a plea deal because,
It wasn't worth it.
yeah, it wasn't. And I had 48 hours to prepare for trial with a new attorney 3.5 years later.
That's nuts.
Yeah, because COVID hit. It was,
Oh, so they pushed the trial all the way back past the pandemic. Wow. That's nuts.
yeah, October 2022.
Okay. So that's a long time until the trial, though. So so let's try to walk through that then. You drop him early in the case?
No.
Or not until you go to trial? That's when you dropped him?
So we had a motion to extend again. I think this is like the 17th
Right.
continuous, journal entry. And he was not prepared at all, where he's like looking through his notes and all this other stuff. And the judge is like, I hope you come to prepared for trial because this is showing no confidence. And that's when I was like, I need to crack down with this attorney or start looking for another one. And I started looking for another one.
That's crazy.
And so I'd filed something with the Bar Association. He got suspended, forging my signature.
He forged your signature on the plea deal, on the trial,
No, for the plea deal.
What a scumbag! Oh my God.
So he got suspended. He didn't get disbarred though, because the text doesn't match the date about going to trial. Like it was. Oh, there's some misconception there.
Right. Okay. So what about those 3.5 years? You're living in Florida, right? What are you doing from right after you get out and you come home?
Still working.
Just living your life?
Yeah, still working.
Okay.
Still working for the state, and then got a job, like part-time job in the events department so I could go to all the events for free, get paid for them. That's why I took that job so I could have, some extra money and enjoy like events.
Right, of course. Okay. So you're living your life normal these whole 3.5 years, like
kind of normal. Just that piggybacking, like that whole dealing with that case.
Right.
Then 2021, the incident happened in May of 2019. 2 years later, she files a civil case suing me and the club. Files as a Jane Doe.
Wow. Okay.
So
this is still 1.5 years before the trial.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happens there?
She lost the lawsuit. She had nothing. Like, we provided everything. So when you have a civil case, it was a federal civil case because we all live in different states.
Right. So the federal court had to get involved to bring it all together.
To make it fair. And so private investigators, looked into her, because they were hired to do so.
And this is when you find out about all the fake identities. Wow. Okay. So, all right, tell me about that.
Oh, yeah. And the pictures that went with certain IDs or names did not match her.
Wow.
I was like, what
did anybody ever find out who she really was?
No. So she never paid, like the private investigator, she never filed her taxes, never went to school. None of that. None of that. And then on trial for the felonious assault, she said she went to a very predominant university.
Which she didn't.
She didn't say what her degree was in.
How is it that all that happens and then at no point is that brought up, like in your case? Who is this lady? Like, we're finding... I'm assuming you presented the fake identities as evidence to the court, right?
They ignored it.
Why does that not surprise me?
It has to be a whole nother case. It has to be.
Did you have to present that in federal court or in state court?
So federal court, when they saw, they unsealed. When they unsealed it, her identity didn't match. It said she lived in Florida, everything under a different name than the one she gave.
Bro.
That's where we're like, oh.
Don't get me started on federal court. My case was federal, so that's yeah. Wow, okay. So 2 years into this, she files a civil lawsuit. Basically, you hire private investigators. You find out she has a bunch of fake identities. Basically, federal court tells you, go fly a kite. You got to file another case. That gets dismissed. They still let her go on into the trial 1.5 years after that. How long does the trial last?
Not even a day.
What? Trials go on for weeks.
No.
Your trial was less than a day.
Because I had 48 hours to prepare with a new attorney that the court assigned to me.
A public defender?
No, it was the judge's friend.
Yeah, that's not
the
great.
Judge and I already had
That's not great.
bad blood.
Oh, man. So the trial lasted less than a day.
Yeah, one male juror.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. So I'm assuming they found you guilty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Felonious assault.
And you're sentenced to how long?
So I was sentenced twice.
Twice?
So when I came back 2-3 weeks for my sentencing.
This is all in Ohio?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all in Ohio. I went from my guilty verdict straight to county jail.
That
And
sucks.
yes.
You know what's crazy? When I got sentenced in federal court, I had never been in trouble, so I didn't know how it worked. I gave all my belongings to my mother outside the court, and I had back at the house before she brought me. I had written down a list of stuff to give her, like, oh look, my car insurance is paid off, this and that, just like, because I thought I was gonna go to prison that day. I was like, I know I'm going to prison. I don't know how long I'm getting, but it turns out they had let me self-surrender later. So in your case, they took you straight to jail. Yeah. That fucking sucks.
My attorney, my 48-hour attorney, told me, he goes, you're going to go to county if you're found guilty.
Fuck.
So at that point, when he said it like that, I knew I was going. So I got drunk before they gave me the verdict. I went across the street to get some tacos and got drunk.
That's crazy.
Not proud of it, but I'm like,
what am I going to do?
Oh, yeah, there's nothing to do.
Yeah,
sleep it off.
That's notorious for people showing up to jail wasted. It is what it is.
And my truck was outside. So my truck was outside. So I had this was the tough part, trying to get all my stuff, have someone come get the truck while it's collecting tickets.
Wow.
And so it doesn't get towed. So one of my friends, thank God, they were able to come up, pick it up, get the keys. I think my dad had to mail my keys to Ohio so my friend could go get the truck.
Wow.
So, and then
Okay. So you got sentenced. You get sent to county. What's that experience like? I mean, you've never done time before, right?
No. This was my first experience. It was a nightmare. It was, I mean, I'm getting accused of being 60 days in. If you've ever seen that show, I'm white with all my teeth. And so they assumed I was a confidential informant. And I never knew what 60 days in was at that point yet. So I learned later on, watching a TV show in county on a small screen. I was like, now I get it. Everyone called me 60 days in. Even the COs did.
That's fine.
And I was like, this is terrible.
Did you do the full 18 months in that county jail?
No. So I 3-4 weeks in county.
In county? Okay.
And then right before Thanksgiving, went to prison.
Okay. And you guys sent to a state prison?
Yeah.
In Ohio?
Yeah, Marysville.
Marysville, never heard of it. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I didn't either until they said, yeah, you're going to Marysville.
Okay.
I was like, okay.
All right. Okay, so you get to Marysville. I'm assuming they do the same thing in female prison as male prison, the whole strip search and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
There's male guards?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fuck.
But the women do the whole...
Yeah. I still think they shouldn't hire male guards in female prisons, man. That's so wrong.
Well, not very many women want to do that job either.
I get it.
There was a little girl that looked like she was fresh out of high school as a CO. I was like, it's max security prison where they end up sending me after.
Yeah, because you're a violent offender.
Yeah.
So you're in there with the big girls.
Yeah.
I went to Coleman Prison Camp in Central Florida.
Mm-hmm.
It actually was converted into a male camp from a female camp.
Really?
Yeah, because they had to shut it down because of the numerous sexual assault allegations and numerous insane things that happened at that prison. They were basically forced to shut it down and turn it into a male prison camp. It's pretty crazy.
Wow.
One CO in there, I heard a story. I mean, it's allegedly, because I don't know, I can't confirm it. He got several of the female inmates pregnant.
That happened in county.
Okay, so it's common.
Mm-hmm.
That prison guard got several female inmates pregnant. The federal government was bringing charges against him. He was going to do time.
Oh, yeah.
So he goes to his car in the parking lot and shoots himself in the fucking head. Yeah, bro. And that's one story. That's one story. I heard numerous ones of the things that the guards and the female prisoners, and it was pretty fucked up. It was pretty messed up.
Yeah, the one in county, one of the COs were on the run because 4 inmates, they took this one girl out of the trustee pod where she didn't bother anyone. She didn't. They took her and put her in SEG. Isolation. Found out she's pregnant. She's been locked up for 3 months and she's already 2 months pregnant.
So obviously, yeah, we know what's up.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I was like,
All right. So, man. So you get to state prison. What's your, like, you're in there, right? So walk me through it. Like, tell
So
me.
we were in admissions where you have to be medically cleared before going to Gen Pop.
Okay.
Just general population. So, we all go, we got everything done. We pop out. So we got our assignments of where we're, going to go.
Right.
So when I checked my level and, security level, I saw I was a level 2 and I was going to Dayton Corrections.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, no. But some of the other repeat offenders said, you'll like Dayton better. And I was like,
Okay.
that's supposed to make me feel better? And I did. I ended up liking it better because it was a 2-person cell versus open dorms.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, okay, you're right.
Much better. Okay.
So
when do they ship you to Dayton?
So we pop out from admissions right before Christmas. So this is like 4 weeks on the dot. Go to general population. I'm in a different housing unit than a lot of the other ones because they split you up. And I'm in there for like a couple weeks, like 2 or 3 weeks in general pop. And then I get, a bunch of us get shipped to Dayton. So, I mean, it was scary being in Gen Pop with, a lot of the girls. But going to Dayton where you have the individual cells, and I was like, wow, it's more real each time I move.
It's like becoming more and more of a prison the more time.
Yeah, this is where I'm going to be. I go, wow, this is where technically I'd be spending 4 to 6 years.
Fuck. That's wild.
Yeah.
All right. So you get shipped to Dayton.
That used to be a male prison, by the way.
Oh, look, the backwards of what happened.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it ended up turning into a female prison.
Okay. All right. So Dayton, do you get there? Do you get assigned a cellmate? Right.
Yes.
Okay.
So
do you like her at first, or?
She didn't bother me. She was depressed, and I made her laugh. She was cool, but she was a tan. So when you have a different uniform, when you got your tans, you can work outside the prison.
Okay.
So they separated all the tans from the blues.
Okay.
So they went into a whole unit by themselves. So because technically you get an escape charge if you even wear anything remotely to the tans stuff versus state blues.
What determines whether someone's a tan or a blue?
Depends on how long you've been there and signing up for something like that too, and proving if you're not an escapee, if you haven't ran, I forget what else, but you have to have a certain amount of time before you're even qualified for that.
Okay. And you weren't a tan at this point?
No, I'm still fresh, a newbie.
Okay. All right. So it kind of hits you that this is where you're going to stay for a while.
Yeah.
Right?
I felt defeated, but at the same time, I knew it was going to be okay because some of the people I came from county with, and we were in admissions, General Pop, then Dayton. So there was 2 of them that I was with. And we bonded like, sisters. It's like we knew each other for so long because you have nothing but time to get to know the person.
Right.
So, and she's still locked up. Still keep in contact with her too.
Yeah. How long did she have?
Minimum 18 years.
Oh my God. That's
Hers
crazy.
is a mess.
That's wild.
Yeah. So, but I actually just messaged her before I drove up here to see how she's doing. And she got to talk to her mom, her daughters. And I was like, I'm happy to hear that. So we're trying to schedule a video time so I can see her.
I just had a friend who got out who just did 18 years. Yeah, he just got out like 2 weeks ago.
And it's a whole different life after lockup.
18 years,
So much has changed. The girl that I was locked up with, her case was notorious too. For anger management, the guy that teaches anger management had an Apple Watch. And it's like, sorry, I didn't catch that. And she's like, oh, your watch talks. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you've been locked up for almost 11 years. Yeah. That stuff didn't exist till recently. So I'm like,
that's crazy.
That's going to be crazy for her. She's not going to get out, but this is something new she learned.
That's crazy.
So.
All right. So once you're getting to Dayton, you have your cellmate and everything. You still don't have an idea of how long you're actually going to be in there. You just know 4 to 6. I know obviously in the state prison it's typically less once you hit parole and all that, but you still not sure of how long you're going to be there.
They said after 6 months I could file for judicial after sentencing.
Got it.
So I filed so December, January, February, March, April, May. May is when I filed.
Got it. 6 months on the dot.
Yeah, about 6. And so by the end of June, they're taking me to, back to county. They said,
because you have to get transferred back?
yeah,
That sucks.
for that.
Okay.
I'd rather have stayed in prison and do it virtually
Yeah.
because county is terrible.
Yeah. County's no joke. So in those 6 months at Dayton, are you pretty good?
Yeah.
Everybody's pretty respectable. Nothing crazy happens.
No, like so this is crazy. One of the girls, a lady I used to work with back in the medical field before I worked in behavioral health, she used to come in black and blue and like she looked miserable. I liked her. She like would talk occasionally, but you could tell she was depressed.
Right.
So fast forward 10 years, she murders her husband.
Oh my God.
Dismembers him. So her son comes back from a university a couple hours away. He left his key at the university in his dorm, so he had to climb through the window, and it smelled so bad. He comes out, he goes, "Mom, what is that smell?" "That's your father." She stood over him and shot him in the head.
She just tells her son, "Yeah, I killed your dad."
So, she had to go through a mental evaluation, everything. Yeah. And so this is the crazy part. When I get to Dayton, it's about a couple days in, I look at the hall pass, when you got to see where you go, anything like that. So I see this unique last name. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, and I put 2 and 2 together. I was like, I wonder if she's here. But it's been over 10 years, like
Right.
a long time. So sure enough, the next day I'm sitting on what they call the bus stop, in front of the TV,
Right,
the
right.
benches. And she comes up to me, she goes, "You look familiar." And I'm like, we realize we know each other and you can't give the other person a hug. And I was like, "You look so much better than the last time I saw you." She's so much happier. She's relieved. She's already
Wow.
been down for over 5 years at this point.
She's relieved after killing her husband?
She is.
That's crazy.
She looks so much better than the last time I saw her.
I'm assuming he was he like abusive?
Very,
Okay.
very. Black and blue. Then I saw like the yellow bruising, the purple, like fresh old bruises. There was no
terrible.
hiding it. And so that was kind of like my way in where they're like, this is, Allie, this, I've known this girl for so long. She's a sweetheart. She goes, she's good people. So that kind of set me for my stay.
She'd been there a while?
Yeah. Yeah, she had. A lot of the women there in her circle murdered their husbands.
Oh my God.
Right.
There was a whole group of women that murdered their husbands
Yeah.
in that prison? Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's Jesus. Wow.
The child cases were more sensitive, like between the murders, the abuse,
That's crazy.
things like that. But, I'm like, these women killed their husbands and, they look so much happier. I wonder how their life, I didn't want to, really know.
Yeah, pry into it, of course. Not.
Yeah. And I didn't want to ask her how are the kids because I know the one kid called on her. They played that video on the news, the recording from that. My mom killed my dad. So I didn't want to ask about the boys. I'm like,
yeah.
so how's
That's crazy.
I had to find a way to ask in a way because I remember those kids from when they were younger. Now they're in college. I'm like, this is crazy.
That's insane. There's a group of chicks that murdered their husbands.
Yeah.
They're like, did they have a nickname?
No, no, but
the daddy killers or whatever. Oh my God, that's crazy.
but it was very interesting.
Okay, all right. So your friend kind of cements your rep in there, so you're good.
Yeah.
And those 6 months pass by. You go to judicial. They transfer you to county.
Oh, you got the part before county.
Before county, okay.
When
let's
my
get into it.
bunkie, my newest bunkie, everyone felt bad for me with this one.
What happened with the tan? What happened with her?
Oh, she got moved to another unit. So I had another.
Oh, because she was tan, she had
Yeah.
to. Okay.
So it's fine. She was cool. We got along. We still, then I had another bunkie that whatever, she got when she got like, stuff from other inmates, like, because they spoiled her. They're like, oh, she's like a stud, but wasn't. She had the long, pretty hair and everything, but she talked like a guy, like tried to be all masculine and everything.
So what? She had girlfriends in there?
Oh, yeah. She goes, hey, Bunky, do you want anything? She goes, I'll get it for you. And I was like, yeah, sure. Give me some coffee and things like that. She goes, here you go. She's doing all the work and she's doing the hustling. And I was like, whatever.
She's pimping out her like girlfriends in prison to get you stuff. That's funny.
So she was cool, like, but what really kind of creeped me out was that she would sleep naked and like have no problem getting naked in front of me. And I'm like, oh, like I'm a virgin or something.
No, don't show that to me.
But then I end up getting moved to the dog program.
Wait, but was she like trying to like?
Yes.
She liked you or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was so weird. So like, I wasn't like, it was so weird, but I'm glad I signed up for the dog program and then they moved me.
Got it. Okay.
So where you can like do dog training, doggy daycare, things like that. I got
Cool.
moved again.
That must have been awkward. I can't imagine the male equivalent of that. Like if a dude, I'd beat the fuck out of him. If he got naked in front of me and he was trying to like seduce me, I'd be like, look, bro, put your fucking pants on and beat the fuck out of you right now.
It's hard
You
to
know?
take women seriously when you got the granny panties on. And,
She had granny panties on this one.
and like got the knee-high socks going, getting dressed while you're in our cell
She looks
after the
like a
shower.
meth head trailer trash, like prostitute.
No,
That's
she was a
funny.
little bit on the heavier side. And like
okay.
you could tell she was skinny before that because of the stretch
stretch
marks
marks.
she's got. I'm like, this is what's going to happen if I don't eat right.
All right. That's
She would sleep naked.
damn.
She
bro.
didn't get in trouble for it. When you were in admissions, you weren't allowed sleeping in your underwear. You had to have the pajama pants, shirt, all that.
Okay.
You couldn't sleep in your bra, nothing. But prison, when you pop out somewhere else, some of them don't care.
All right.
And I was like, awkward.
Very awkward, especially if she's not attractive.
She had a pretty face, long hair, but the more she ate, it started to like round up, and I was like,
okay.
there goes that pretty face. But still, like,
What happened to the working out? We're in prison, man. What the hell?
well, some of them just don't.
I got you. Not I know. I remember some people just waste the whole day.
Yeah.
All right. So that happens. You're still good though. Nothing crazy. 6 months pass. Now the 6 months pass by. You go to judicial. You go to county, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm assuming transferring is a nightmare in prison. I would assume it's not fun at all.
The ride to county was, I'll tell you what, it made me never want to mess up again.
Yeah.
They are driving recklessly in the paddy wagon. Like they're going over the double yellow line to the left to go around, putting their lights on, just flying. And they don't have us in seatbelts or anything, but we're shackled.
You're shackled.
And
And like if you hit bumps, your head is hitting like the roof. Oh my God, that's terrible.
so like he stops to get gas, and I was like I'm sweating. I'm like, this is a nightmare. There's another inmate in the back from one of the male prisons, and I was like, whew. I was like,
Do they have you guys separated?
oh yeah,
Like
he's
a
2
gate?
rows back.
Yeah, but there's no gate.
No.
That's not safe.
No. And he's a level 3, so he's a pink, which means like he is technically unpredictable in a way. But the sheriff, she was like a linebacker. She goes, hey, I'm giving you a heads up. If he makes you uncomfortable, you let me know.
Got it. Okay.
He didn't really bother me. He just kept yapping, telling me about his history of being a drug addict, things like that. I'm like, okay, whatever. She looks at me. She goes, you good? I'm like, yeah. She goes, just let me know.
Good.
But we get to a gas station, and like we stopped, and I'm like sweating. I'm like, oh, this driving. I feel like I've died already. Like I feel like I've died on the inside. I was like, oh man. I was like, this is insane. And she looks back at me. She goes, you don't have to sit in the front. I was like, yeah. I go, I'm glad I'm not in the front, because like the way he's driving, it's like you're all over the place. Then they get Popeye's chicken, and I got to smell that. I'm like,
Damn.
I was like, this is add insult to injury.
I'm hungry, man. Give me some food.
And then we stop at a rest stop because he had to go pee, the other inmate. So I'm all shackled up. going to a rest stop and people see us. I was like, this is my image gone. Gone. No, like,
Good news is you'll never see those people ever again. So whatever.
thank God.
You know, I realized that the majority of our decisions are dictated by how we think other people are going to think of us, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter. Like, for example, if I'm out in public and I trip over something, the first thing I do is like look around to see who saw me bust my ass. Who gives a shit? You know, whatever. But I understand though. It is you feel ashamed.
Yeah.
Like, because I felt ashamed when my mother came to visit me and I was in my prison clothes, and I get it.
I didn't want any visitors in prison. I didn't want any, like, a lot of my friends said, I was like,
my mother to come see me if I wanted to, yeah.
My dad was in Florida, so I'm glad he didn't come see me. I mean, I had people on my visitor, form.
Right.
But I'm like, no, I don't want you to come visit me. I was like, I go, we could talk on the phone, but I do not want you seeing me like this. There was one person I said yes to, but he's seen me. It's one of my best friends who's seen me pregnant, like stretched out, like, all that. Like, I was like, all right, one person, but I wasn't locked up long enough for him to come visit. So I'm like, oh, thank goodness I'm out.
All right. Okay, so that whole so let's finish the trip. So you got to use the bathroom. The guy gets off to use the bathroom. All right, keep going.
So I go to the bathroom. Like, there is no chance in hell if I tried to run that I could. Because you always think about, okay, can I escape?
Of course.
But I'm looking at her. I was like, her legs are twice as long as mine. She would tackle me and I'd be done. But she was nice. She looks mean. But she was, she'd have conversations with me. She made me feel a little more comfortable. And she'd turn her back so I could go to the bathroom in peace. She goes, just let me know when you're ready. I was like, cool. All right. So,
that's rare in the prison system.
Well, there was no way to get out the other side. So there's no way I could have gotten out.
Right.
But, she goes, you're good. And so she walked me back. She goes, it's all right. She goes, don't look at him. Because she knew that I was looking at the side. She goes, don't look. She goes, just get in the van. She goes, we're almost there. I was like, okay. So she made it a little better.
Good.
So, then I got approved. I was in county for 10 days waiting to hear about my judicial release. I was like, send me back to prison. I'd rather go sit in prison than in county. That was a nightmare. I didn't get to wash my hair for 10 days. But I was able to, like, wash up.
Right.
But you don't have enough, like, with all this, there's no soap. Like, I didn't have money come over to commissary. And I'm, like, waiting a couple days to get out. So I got this bright idea because I have a friend that works in the probation department. I call my friend who I stayed with. I was like, get a hold of so-and-so. They're a probation officer. I've been approved. I need to get out of here. So he got a hold of him, put the paperwork on a desk. Next day I was out.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's like,
thank God.
I could not be in county any longer.
Wow.
I was like, just send me back to prison. I'll do another couple months for that.
Whatever. Get me out of here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But what ends up happening with the review and everything?
They said I was an upstanding citizen. I did great behind bars. Like, they're like, you really got it together. I was like, yeah, this is very motivating to get out.
Good.
And so, like, but I was remorseful. Like, I knew what I did, how I handled things prior to this.
Okay.
If I could have gone back and do it all over again, I would not have done it.
Of course. But
in sober me, like, having 8 months sober at that point, because I was locked up, I was, like, really thankful. I was like, wow, as much as I had a resentment against the judge and everything, and, making me go to AA, court ordered, I was like, I needed this.
Yeah.
But I didn't tell him that. I'm like, I just said thank you for giving me this opportunity. So.
All right. So you're out.
Yeah. I've been out. So 20 months I've been out.
Nice.
Out.
How much probation did you get?
18 months.
All right. You're done?
Yes. Off papers.
Amazing. All right. Well, that is quite a story.
Yeah, I don't want to repeat that. Thank you for letting me.
Of course, and thank you for telling it. So I usually wrap up asking the same few questions. So first question, what's next for you?
Just keep keep going. Got my cleaning business, working for a construction company too. You know, I have people that, you know, do jobs for me. You know, I still participate in some of the cleaning.
Right.
You know, but I have people doing jobs for me. You know, I start this week, you know, on my own, you know, doing things for the construction company. My roommate just had surgery, so I'm helping her. And, you know, it's doing way better than I was 20 months ago, where it was so hard when he got out to reestablish. Now I'm not going to screw that up.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
I know the feeling. All right. How do you want to be remembered?
Let's see. How do I want to be remembered? You know, you can fix mistakes. You can, by not, you know, being a better example, learning from your mistakes, being a better example, and sharing my story, and knowing that I was able to build a support system and giving encouragement to others. If, you know, there's people that feel down. And, you know, in AA, there's girls that have needed help. I haven't completed the 12 steps yet.
Right.
However, I've been able to share my story, and they're like, never thought of it that way. And I was like, okay, I, you know, made an impact on someone. So if I can share some of my story and make an impact, yeah, I want to be successful career-wise, you know, with given my circumstances, what I have to work with, and help others. That's, you know, what I'm aiming for, just to keep doing better.
Do you believe in redemption?
Yes, I do. But, you know, it's hard to, not everyone is capable of redemption, though. Not everyone. Some people are, and some people are blessed. You can tell by the way they treat their future.
I like that. You can tell by how they treat their future. Do you feel you've redeemed yourself?
I feel like I've made big progress. I don't think the journey will ever end. It's one day at a time. And as long as you keep doing the right thing, you're redeeming, you know, you're showing, you know, that. I think redemption just keeps going forward, and appreciate what you have.
I love that. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.
Your story is super awesome.
Thank you for having me.
I'm lucky. Right place, right time.
Yes.
If you're ever in Miami, make sure to give me a call.
Sounds good.
All
Keep
right.
in contact.
Of course. All righty, guys. That was another episode of Honor Among Thieves. Host Nelson Rodriguez Jr. signing out. Push it to the limit. The world is yours. If you're not chasing a dream, life is meaningless, guys. Say goodnight to the bad guy.
So say goodnight to the bad guy.
You looking at the bad guy. This the last time that you ever see a bad guy like me. You don't have the guts to be who you wanna be.